Easy now. Papa got things making him
come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finna change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you
Welcome to the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn Dugard. You guys can follow me on the tweet machine. You guys know where to do that at Mike Dugard, MikeEdugar. I'm verified on there. Shout out to Elon Musk. I need the yellow check though, Elon, not the blue joint. Shout out to all YouTube subscribers as well. Seahawks Man to Man on YouTube. That's the number 2 man is the name of the channel. Appreciate all you guys listen. Audio listeners, we appreciate you guys too. Just shouting out our video folks. Chris, talk to him.
What is going on, everyone? It is your boy, Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206, and that's CKID206.
All right, it's a late night one. I think we're recording after midnight. We are. It's after midnight right now. Seahawks played their second primetime game of the year. They lost to the 49ers. 21-13 was the final. If you're listening, you probably already know that. You also probably already know that they've fallen to 7-7 after starting the year 6-3. That's pretty rough. That's 1-4 since winning against the Cardinals on the road. That's a pretty rough stretch there. They pretty much got their shit smashed in the mouth pretty early there. The run numbers weren't as bad as usual, but just a lot of bad coming. I mean, not all bad, but a lot of bad coming out of that game. You fall to 7-7, so the other team clinches the division. So now winning the division's out. I mean, it was a long shot anyway, but now it's like officially out. So winning the division's out. You're 7-7, and where are they at in the wild card race? They're eighth right now.
Right behind the Lions, or ahead of the Lions, excuse me.
They're ahead of the Lions, who are 6-7. The Lions play the Jets this weekend. Big game now. The Giants are 7-5-1. Washington 7-5-1. I believe they play each other this Sunday. They do?
Correct.
Okay. So don't really matter to the Seahawks who wins that, I don't think. You just need whoever loses that to just keep losing.
Preferably the Giants, because actually it doesn't matter.
The tiebreaker doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, they beat them. Yep.
Well, the tiebreaker doesn't matter because the Giants have a tie in their record.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The Seahawks can't finish with the same record as the Giants because there's no tie in the Seahawks, record. They're just whatever and whatever. The Giants are whatever and 1. So the Giants cannot tie with the Seahawks and then lose a tiebreaker to the Seahawks because they can't finish with the same record. So you're in a bad spot there. You need the Lions to do some losing. And you got to because they got to fix a lot of shit. They got to fix a lot of stuff after it. Not just this game. This game, if you watch this game, you're like, okay, they got to fix a few things, particularly on offense. But just general, since that Cardinals game, since I flew home from Arizona and I was packing up to go to Munich, I'm like, this is a good team. This is a contending team. If I went back and listened to our show from after that Arizona game in Week 9, I'd probably be feeling really good. There was a lot of good in that game. And since then, there is no good. The only good has been that Geno can throw and DK and Tyler can catch. And Charles and Abe can block. That's probably been about the only good in the last 5 weeks.
I think when Brody KT asked us, with this tough schedule, I think it wasn't that, how do I explain this? This would be a tough schedule just because obviously what the Niners defense brings, and that was on full display on Sunday. Thursday. Man, I'm over here tripping thinking it's Sunday. On Thursday night.
Well, right now we're technically recording on Friday, so
whatever. We're all over the place. But in that regard, this is a tough game. The Chiefs is going to be a tough game. And what's not to say, Mike, after how we've seen this team perform over these last few games, that the matchup against the Jets won't be a challenging game.
That's going to be a tough one.
So right there, Mike, because on the last episode, you said that there's 2 potential. Now you're
eat some string cheese while you're talking. Go ahead, though.
That's fine. But now you're saying that Jets game is going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3. The only game that you're saying is not tough now is that Rams game, the last one of the year.
That might be tough too.
So just in a couple of days, Mike, you have now switched just because of the on-field of what you've seen on field of this Seahawks team, and it's on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. But to be honest, on Thursday they just lost to a better football team. There's no way to cut it. It's just the Niners were better, even though they had the seventh round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. They drew up a game plan that he could execute. Hell, my man was, I think, 11 for 11 at one point in the game.
Oh, was he really? Oh, wow.
Or 10 for 10. I know he was slinging it, but it wasn't as if he was throwing it downfield 13 yards. He was just taking a lot of the underneath stuff and it was completing it. And sometimes that's all you have to do in that scenario. And he was just confident. He had one bad throw that should have been intercepted, but unfortunately, Quandre just didn't come up with it. And that could have been a huge swing for the Seahawks offensively. And we saw how that went. Didn't work out. Travis Homer ends up fumbling. And as we talked about off wax, when Mike stated you got 6 yards to go, it's the probability of the opposing team scoring is through the roof. No surprise there that they did score. But then to start the second half, after hearing what Pete Carroll had to say about, we're in a good position right now, playing on our home field, we know what we have to do, and then for the Niners to go down and score and make it a 14-3 game, that's something that you just cannot have happen. And it was a bust, missed tackle, just sloppy play. And you don't want to have those moments late in mid-December when you're trying to make a playoff push.
Mm-hmm.
Those should be for sure tackles, and you hold them to 3. Yeah, you might have blown an assignment, but you made up for it and you held them to 3. Now it's a 10-3 game. The offense is still having an opportunity to go down and move the ball. The game is within grasp. When it got 14-3, I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking, yeah, this might get real ugly. I was expecting to be 21-3, 28-3, and then it's a blowout. But they fought back. The Seahawks fought back, and they made it a game. Had some spots where like, okay, things get interesting. But ultimately, I personally believe that the Niners were just a better football team, offensively, defensively. And no matter what the Seahawks tried to do, it didn't matter. The Niners were just one step ahead. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. Now it's what you do after the fact. And they have another tough challenge, as I mentioned earlier, with looking at the remaining schedule. They got another hot offense. Not another hot offense, a really hot offense with one of the best throwers in the game in Patrick Mahomes.
The best thrower in the game.
Ooh,
the best.
I thought Geno was in that discussion. Geno's not the best. You're right. But
no, it's Mahomes. It's Mahomes, I think, by
a mile.
Right, yeah, by it's pretty not a mile, but like a half mile,
quarter mile.
Yeah, pretty significant leap between Mahomes, I think, and the rest of the world right now.
But I just think the Seahawks just got beat by a better team, and now you just got to move on and try to right your wrongs from the film that the Seahawks are going to watch tomorrow throughout the week, and just get better and come with a game plan and execute the game plan the best you can and live with the results. That's my guy LeBron James would say. We're going to live with the results. We're going to go back to the film room, figure things out, and live with the results after that. And that's all you can do at this point, because I don't know how you felt going into the game, Mike. We both picked the Niners to win. We didn't give a score. I didn't think the Seahawks would cover 3.5. So far, so good.
Well, a few things here before we get to questions that people have. I'm very concerned with the Seahawks, both short-term and long-term, actually, because I think the samples, I'll go long-term first. They have a lot of the same problems that they've had in the past. Some of it is a little different. Like they haven't really been this bad at running the ball in a few years. They had a really bad stretch, I think, in like 2020 when Chris Carson got hurt, and then had some other bad stretches. I think, and Chris Carson was hurt last year too. So they were pretty Chris Carson reliant there for a couple of years, but like didn't go like too many long stretches. But we've seen this before where they're just like, okay, they can't run the ball. That's bad. The pass defense is actually shored up a little bit, like because that was bad for like 2020 and 2021. That came out the gate awful, historic numbers. I mean, like Andy Dalton throwing for like 400, Matt Ryan throwing for like 400. It's pretty bad stuff. Excuse me. And then they fixed that, but now they have like the run defense issue. That's just not getting fixed. I know today the numbers weren't bad the entire game, but like still 171 yards or something like that on design rushes on like 30 carries. Another like that's still pretty bad. Actually, that is bad. If you give 171 every game, you'll probably be like a bottom 5 run defense, no matter when you give them. Because it ain't like they just got a bunch of garbage time runs at the end to fix the number. Now, man, the Seahawks, the game was within reach there. And they just gave up like a 55-yarder that like skews the numbers a little bit, but not great. So that long term, you see a lot of recurring issues. Maybe it's not each year to each year. Like right now, they look a little bit like the 2017 Seahawks, which kind of look like the 2020 Seahawks a little bit towards the back half of the let Russ cook thing. And they've got some issues right now that are kind of similar to the 2021 Seahawks, especially in the pass rush situation. They had 1 sack today. And those pass rush issues go all the way back to 2019 and 2020 and 20. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of issues that just big picture seem to be just systemic, just issues that just won't go away. No matter if you change, like think about all those issues that I mentioned where they've had significant personnel changes and where they had significant coaching changes and still have the same issue. They've changed run game coordinators. They've changed passing game coordinators. All the passing game is fine right now. They've changed D-line coaches in theory, not in theory, but like kind of with promoting Clint. They've got rid of personnel, whereas KJ, whereas Bobby, no more Carlos Dunlap, no more Kerry Hyder, Benson Mayowa. Like they've cleaned house in a lot of places, and still it's a lot of the same issues, which tell me it's originating up top. They've changed secondary coaches. This is a big picture. I just think that the problems they've had and continue to have are recurring, and are kind of just like symbolic of a bigger issue there, an issue that a few good draft picks here and there won't fix. I mean, even you look at this year, they have a great draft class, still might not even make the playoffs, So they have guys in their draft class who are like top 10 Pro Bowl vote getters. Charles Cross, top 10 guy. Tariq leads all corners. Ken Walker's like 7th or 8th or something like that. Like those are rookies in those spots. Still doesn't matter. So I think long term, we've kind of seen that we can conclude, Chris, probably we can agree that 4-game win streak was a little fluky now. Not fluky. It was definitely an outlier. Like in the 14-game sample, we have those 4 in the middle, 2 of them against the same team, and the Cardinals were kind of an outlier. And the rest of the 10 games are a much more illustrative sample, I guess, of who they actually are. So I think long term, I'm a little concerned. Not a little concerned. I'm a lot concerned because I don't think this is just something you plug in the kid from Georgia, you plug in a pass rusher, you plug in a guy here or a guy there that you fix. Like a lot of bad stuff here, like multiple positions, guys not getting better at certain positions over the course of a year, and a lot of stuff. So that's the long term. The short term, I've been very discouraged by some of the comments that I've got, not from like readers. I'm talking about from the players and stuff, and it's actually coaches too. And it's not any off the record stuff. I'm talking about stuff you guys can see too, like some of these post game press conferences and stuff like that. Like Bruce Irvin's comment, and Ryan Neal last week when they're like Bruce was like, man, I got kids, man. I ain't about to just let nobody just whoop me. Ain't no other man about to beat me. Like you got to just beat the man across from you. And all 11 of us need to have that mindset. And Ryan Neal was basically last week after the Panthers game was like, yeah, we just got to bow up, let our nuts hang. Go out there and play. Today I was talking to Phil Haynes. He was like, yeah, man, we just got to go back to the fundamentals, and just start punching people in the mouth. I was like, well, why aren't you punching people in the mouth? He was like, I don't know. He took a deep breath. He was like, I don't know. And I was just like, and those guys are not saying anything wrong. They're just being honest, and that's fine. But think about that, Chris. We're hearing shit like that in week 14 and 15.
It comes back to the fact that they're just not there yet. They're not at that level yet. And maybe this is the year where they are like, okay, we have to get better and be that team next season. But there's also still time left, but their schedule ain't easy. All right. We've already talked about that ad nauseum. And the interesting thing is early in the year, we looked at the schedule and we said there are going to be challenges towards the end of the season. Can they right the ship and be able to have that same level of play that they had against a softer schedule during the midpoint of the season when they were on that 4-game win streak? Well, that we haven't seen that, but they're also facing teams that also are either better than them or just as good. And they might have a couple of superstars, as you mentioned with the Oakland Raiders a few weeks back.
Vegas Raiders.
God dang it, man. I'm never going to get that right, am I? The Vegas Raiders.
Call them the Raiders.
Sure, Mike. Just call them the Raiders. Yes.
Here's what city they're in. Yeah, the Raiders.
No one's talking about the Raiders of the Lost Ark for my movie fans out there. You might have caught that. But you got Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, elite superstars. Call them what you want. Each week, they're facing some superstars. You saw on Thursday Night Football who they're going up against. Mr. Irrelevant played well. George Kittle stepped up to the plate. Trent Williams did his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Christian McCaffrey did his thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see a pattern. If the opposing team got some dogs on there, how do the Seahawks respond? And it hasn't been a W as of late. And that's concerning, as you pointed out, Mike. But I think that just goes to the whole premise of, man, they're facing some tough teams, and they don't have that luxury of going up against a mid to not good football team per se. They're going up against teams that are actually pretty decent.
Well, I mean, the Rams and the Jets probably aren't good, but it's not even necessarily the quality of the team or losing to other team superstars. It's that, like, these are things that speak to, like, toughness and mentality and attitude. You know, like, Bruce was like, we all need to have that attitude of, like, I ain't going to let the man across from me beat me. It's week 14.
That's,
you know?
yeah.
That's an attitude and a mentality thing. And you just want everybody to have that same mentality, you know, or at least the majority of the guys. And I'm not going to go through each guy and say who don't have the mentality or not or whatever, because that's
pointless.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I do think that's the fact that these guys feel like, think about, these are toughness things, like bow up, beat the man across from you. Even Geno does, like, we got to win our one-on-one battles, punch the other team in the mouth. Yeah, I mean, not just Geno hardly has any one-on-one battles per se.
No, I was saying it's very cliche, but that ain't easy, man. You got Nick Bosa or whatever Bosa brother on that side. It's like, win your one-on-one. Can I get a chip?
Well, they were doing that a little bit, but not even just the one-on-ones, but just Bosa in general. Like, you got guys like, losing to Max Crosby or whatever, like Abe Lucas did a couple weeks ago. That will happen. But I mean, they got guys that's losing all over the place, you know, like and it's not even always a huge play. Like one of them, Ken Walker gets a carry earlier in the game, and as soon as he touches the ball, Austin Blythe's getting walked back into him, you know. So all right, play over. You know, one of the sacks, I think Charles gets beat by Bosa. One of the Niners had like a 3rd and 7 or something like that, really backed up on their own goal line, and I think it's Ayuk or Juan Jennings or whoever the hell beats Mike Jack on like a slant.
Yeah, they did 2 slants. That was a nice play design there.
You got to beat the guy in front of you, you know. Like there's they missed some tackles today. Quandre missed one on George Kittle. Cody missed one.
Ryan Neal missed one. Yeah.
Ryan Neal missed one on running back I ain't heard of before today. So Jordan Mason, I think was his name. Like, so it's not to say those dudes that I'm talking about don't have like the attitude that I'm referring to. I just think that in general, for guys to be saying stuff like that this late in the season, like if you're not going to have that attitude already, and if you can't feel that everyone has that already, then in week 14, 15, 16, you don't just wake up and get tough. Like that's in you or it's not. You know, that type of attitude is in you or it's not. And that's why I'm concerned in the short term. Like I feel like long term, when guys were, you know, training camp, you're a whole new team. Like when you run it back, you know, like everybody's different. Even if you return your core, you're a whole new team. But like right now, I don't think you just wake up and get attitude. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can harness that for a game. Maybe, I don't know. Every guy is different, but like that part concerns me, because then that speaks to where they are losing these games. It's up front. It's the front sevens. You know, they're not getting carved up, getting thrown on all over the place. You know, like they kind of held Devontae into a reasonable number, 74 yards, I think it was. Like they're
7
not getting
catches, yeah.
DJ Moore didn't even catch a pass, you
That's
know,
insane.
for the Panthers, you know, like Mike Evans had like a decent day against them. I think Chris Godwin didn't even go crazy. Like they're not, it's not like 2020 and 2021 teams where they could not cover. That was bad. They were just not covering at a very high level at all. Like right now, they're doing that. It's their front 5 or 6 against the other teams like front 7 or whatever, and they're just getting whipped. And a lot of that is attitude. A lot of that is getting off blocks. A lot of that is just being able to outlast the guy in front of you. And they're doing it here, doing it there, but it's not working. And then if it is working on the defense, then like today, it doesn't work on the offense. Chris, they haven't been able to run the ball since the last time they ran the ball well. The Cardinal game in week 9. That was it when Ken had like 78 yards in the fourth quarter. Because before that, he wasn't even having that great of a game. Giants game, he got shut down. And then the Chargers game, he went crazy. But you know, I think that there's so many things that's wrong with the team in current form that are a talent thing for sure. I'm sure, you know, but a lot of it just seems like, man, like Ryan said, just buck up, beat the guy across from you, man. Win your battle. You know, that's what you got to do. And then guys are just not doing that on a consistent per play basis. And then you get turnovers, and then you get guys that, you know, pre-snap penalties, post-snap penalties, offsides, false start, whatever. Then you can't afford that shit. So yeah, I think the short term, I'm very, very, very concerned. You know, Geno said that you know there's no panic in the locker room, and of course, I don't think there is. I think that, like, in that regard, mentally, guys still believe because there's still a chance, you know. But for everyone else who's not in there, it's very easy to just be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. And it's not just because you play bad in one week or play bad another week. It's the why for me. It's the hearing the thoughts of like, I would never want to hear nobody say like, nah, man, we all just got to decide to beat the guy across from us. In week 14. Tell me that in week 3, I'm like, all right, cool, young team. Oh man, y'all been overseas together. Y'all done been in some tough road environments together. The Saints game, the Detroit game. You've been some tough spots. So I think that, yeah, for that to be one of the issues, the attitude, the toughness, the kicking the other guy's ass in front of you, you know, particularly in the run game. Because the run game was supposed to be the thing that like you dominate as an offense because you're going forward. That's why offensive linemen like that shit so much because they get to push the guy. Whereas when you pass set, you're going backwards and you're, you know, gravity, physics, all that shit is against you. They're just not winning up front enough on either side of the ball. And then it becomes down to tackling, you know, as well. So yeah, no, I'm concerned about that because I don't think that's stuff you just wake up and fix, man. I think that's got to be in you at this point in the year. Like if you need week 16 to kick your shit in the gear, your shit probably ain't gonna get kicked. You know, that's just at least not in a good way. That's kind of where I'm at.
Before we get to Twitter question, there's that famous photo of the X-ray with the dog in him. The Seahawks ain't got that dog in them at this point in time, and to your point, should have had that weeks ago.
Yeah, collectively they do because there's some guys. There's some.
Oh
like,
yeah. There's
guys you can see it. You can see it with Bruce. Like he's out there setting them edges like a motherfucking dog.
Yeah,
you know, Chenna too. Actually,
arguably playing some of the best football for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Neal's out there playing with a bad knee, bad shoulder, bad.
Ryan Neal is reminding me of that one episode where Squidward has been electrocuted by, obviously in SpongeBob, he's been electrocuted by, I think, all the jellyfish. And he pulls up and he's
in the body cast.
In the body cast. That's Ryan Neal right now. And he's still out there diving over, making plays, pass breakups. He, as you mentioned, he got that dog in him. The X-ray clearly shows the dog inside of him. He has it. Yeah. And I guess not everyone has that, but that's what you would need for this team, I guess, for them to be at ease with, I guess, the results. Like if everyone was on the same page in that regard. But we'll see. They got another tough challenge ahead, and we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, I'm confident they got guys. It's not like it's an effort thing. Someone tweeted me today, was like, Mike, did you see the fourth quarter our team gave up? I didn't see a team that gave. They were fighting right to the, like it took Brock Purdy sliding like a half yard like right where he should have to convert like a 3rd and 1 late in the game with Quentin Jefferson giving every little last breath he's got to try to chase down Brock Purdy on that. Like those guys were, there was fight in the team to the very end. I thought that was very important. Even Michael Jackson chasing down that Jordan Mason dude on that 50-yard run for Mike to come from across the field like that to make sure he doesn't score. That's defending every blade of grass. Like that's effort. The effort is there.
You ain't scoring another touchdown, homie. You gonna get hit.
Yeah, that was, I thought that was the effort. I think is there, but it's not all 11 on every play like Bruce was alluding to after the Panthers game. I didn't talk to Bruce after the game, but a lot of guys didn't really want to talk today. Guys that normally talk did not. Like DK was out of there. Tyler didn't talk because his fingers broke, but guys were out of there real quick. Didn't get a chance to talk. I didn't see Travis Homer at all. That's the second straight
game for him.
Second straight game I haven't even seen him. He's probably not showering after the game. He's to the car. I'm not seeing him at all. Ken didn't want to talk after the game. I'm not mad at these guys. They don't have to. I'm just pointing it out. That's to show you guys the energy. Like, even Tariq didn't want to talk today. Tariq always talks after the game. He didn't want to talk. He wasn't even in a bad mood. He's just like, I just don't want to talk to nobody right now. I said, you know what, dog? I feel you. That was it. So, but yeah, it's not a lot to say. I feel them. I didn't want to talk to them that much either because there ain't that much to say.
It's the same thing.
Same shit every week. Other than the defense played a little better today. I did talk to Shelby after the game. He was talking about all the things that were wrong with him. He said he was having trouble breathing on Sunday. He had stomach issues. If he stood up too fast, he got dizzy. He said, I was like, how bad were you? He was like, man, I was dying on Sunday. So just throwing it out there, for people wondering how sick he was. So that could be why Trey Brown didn't play today either. But yeah, I'm worried about that going forward. It's not that they're not going to try hard, but it's like, is all 11 going to just like buck up and lock in for 60 minutes? Like that's tough. We're not seeing it. We didn't even see it from the defense in the game they won in this stretch. The defense blew the game against the Rams. Geno and them just saved their ass. And today the defense didn't get the ball back from them when they needed to either. Tough spot, but yeah. So it's there's a lot wrong. There's a lot wrong with not much time to fix it, man. It's very, very, very concerning going forward.
Well, with that being said, let's jump to our favorite segment, and that is Twitter questions. We give a chance to all of our listeners to just give us questions, and Mike takes his time to answer them. So we'll go ahead and get into that right now. Our first one comes from all the way from Australia, and it is from Steve Campbell at Splash Log. Does DK need to chill, or is it a good thing to run hot and have that white line fever? Go Seahawks.
Yeah, I do think you need a couple guys who are built like that. And I think, I think you need a couple. Let's see, how many starters on there on offense? Probably unofficially 12 or 13, counting different personnel groupings, second tight end, third receiver. Probably 12, 13 guys. If you got three dudes who are borderline crazy, that's cool. That's the number, I think. I just made that up, but let's roll with that. Three's the max. You want three dogs who's gonna be chipping at the other team, going at it, cussing them out. Cool. It seems like they really just only got the one, it being DK. But DJ Dallas is like that too. He ain't scared to bark at nobody. I'm not really sure who else is like that, but I know DJ and DK are for sure. So I was sitting next to Dave Bowling, columnist. I don't know who he's writing for now, but a lot of people who reading stuff in Seattle, you probably know Dave. He used to come in News Tribune for a long time. I sit next to him at the home game, and he kind of brought that. He was like, man, DK gets a lot of penalties, and I was like, let me look it up. Actually, let me see how many it is. I think DK even after today only has 6 penalties. 6 is a lot, but he's got 3 OPIs, and then he headbutted Jalen Ramsey, said something to the ref, and then today he got the taunting call. In 14 games, 3 penalties, none of which were 3 penalties that post snap, none of which were that consequential. The one where he I think said something to the ref that could have been bad because I think that made Jason Myers' field goal really
60
long.
yards, yeah.
Yeah, it made it really long. Yeah, that was almost pretty bad. But today it was a 4th and 1. They were already punting. It wasn't gonna do shit. The headbutt on Jalen. I mean, you shouldn't headbutt anyone, but again, like if you got one or two dudes like DJ Fluker was like that, and then the Legion of Boom days, the entire defense was like that. Like it was 11 dudes ready to kick ass every snap. So it's a bunch of dudes living on the edge there. So I think that you can on defense. I think the number is not 3. On defense, the number you can have like 8 dudes wired like that. Offense, you got to be careful. But yeah, I think DK is fine. You need some guys like who are wired like that to let the other team know, like, come, like he told Dre Greenlaw, come on, let's fight. Yeah, I'm with that. You need a couple guys like that.
This next one's from Mookie Alexander. How high of a priority should wide receiver be for the Seahawks in the 2023 draft?
It can't be that high because they have other needs up front. Like they have to dedicate a lot of resources up front. Free agency, the draft, and then really in the interior in particular. Brian Monet, I really feel bad for him. Really just soft-spoken, good cat. Don't bother nobody. Just comes in, work, don't even say shit. Blows his knee in his first start of the year. I want to say it was. Maybe he started another game, but yeah, that stinks. So you got to look at something there because you probably won't have him to start the year. I'd be very surprised. You know, Rashad Penny blew his ACL out around this time in 2019 and didn't come back till around this time in 2020. Everybody's a little different, but yeah, that sucks. So you got to. I mean, Al's in the 2010 draft class. So or 2011 or whatever. So just do the math on that. So you're gonna need to address the nose spot. Gotta decide what you're gonna do with Miles Adams and LJ Collier, who on first glance I thought Miles and LJ played fine, by the way, stepping in. But you gotta see what you want to do there. So that's like 4 spots. That's all 4 interior D-line spots right there. And Puna's a free agent. So you gotta really dedicate. That's all that is more important to me than receiver. Because Tyler ain't dead. His hand just broke. So, or he broken finger. So that ain't that bad. That's more important than receiver to me. I think O-line at right guard, center are both more important than that to me. Because those are guys you need playing every snap, and you need them being at their best, and you need them to be kicking other guys' asses more often than they're getting knocked back. So I think you got at least like 4 or 5 spots maybe that I would address before receiver. Like I think what second round pick are they gonna have because of Denver? Like pick like 30 something probably because of Denver in the second round. Probably 34 something like that. 35. Like I don't even think you can use that on a receiver. I think you got to go deep. You got to go trenches your first 3 picks. In my mind, I don't think you can afford to do anything else with those early picks. Then maybe with your second round pick, you can start thinking, a skill position guy.
This next one is from Epimeral. Sounds about right. Do we have any idea what kind of contract Geno wants?
I don't. I have not talked to his people. I haven't really heard any rumblings. I think they're doing a good job of just like waiting to see how it plays out because Geno is kind of like on a week-to-week audition thing. And it's crazy because I think Geno's playing okay. What did he finish with today, Chris? Let me check. 200
plus yards and a touchdown. He was like
238 or something like that. Put it this way. When I watch these games that they've lost, I very rarely have been like number 7, ain't it?
Yeah, 238, Mike. Yep.
And this is what these games have really showed with Geno is that he has limitations. He was like voted in Mike Sando, the homie at The Athletic. He talks to like 50 execs and coaches and stuff like that around the league, and he does his QB tiers. And Geno was like 35 out of 35. Like he was dead last in tier 5. They had to like make up tier 5 for Geno. He was the only guy in it. Like Geno's probably more like a tier 3, bottom tier 2 guy. Like he's really good. But the reason he's not in tier 1 or the top of tier 2 is because he's not Superman. And that's what he'd have to be. Chris, today they were trying to be balanced and shit. They're trying to run the ball, keep the defense honest. Geno ended up dropping back 48 times. It's a season high. And some of that's because they had like 2 2-minute drills, but still, that's That's damn near 50 dropbacks in a regulation game against a team that has Nick Bosa. No, you can't do, and he still completed like 70% of the passes. So no, he just has limitations, and that's not a bad thing. Kyler has those limitations. Russ has those limitations. Justin Herbert has those limitations. Like pretty much the only dude that don't is probably Mahomes, maybe Josh Allen. But even Josh is turning it over like crazy these days. So I think that the last few games have really shown that Geno needs some help. Like he's getting no help from the run game at all. And so that I think he's still worth the franchise tag at least, which is $31 million. So and I say worth that, like, I mean that, because a lot of days him just keeping them in it has like been all they've been able to hang their hat on offense. That and then Charles and Abe playing well. So yeah, Geno, I don't know what he wants, but it should start with the franchise tag number, which is about 31 mil.
This next one comes from Will Branch at Beeman 5385. Did this game come down to coaching?
That's a great question. We've never got that question before. At least not phrased like that. We've been doing the show for a while. No. However, though, Chris, did they break down the first touchdown on Amazon? The trick?
Yeah, that was beautiful. I immediately thought about how the Panthers use a swing pass and what the teams have been attacking the Seahawks with, and the Niners just took that and took advantage of it. They said, we know you're going to fall for this screen. Oh, we're going to throw a screen over here. Had these dudes running left and right, and the middle is wide open. So that was just an amazing play call by Shanahan and perfectly executed. I guess you have to do much.
Yeah, you do have to execute a lot of that. That puts a lot on Brock Purdy, actually. But even Pete Carroll called it beautiful after.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it was something like.
Yeah, Pete didn't know. He was like, yeah, we weren't ready for that one.
Yeah, he was like, that's a play you don't see very often in the league anymore. And I mean, it's like, well, you see it again. Because, yeah, you knew the Seahawks knew, Shanahan knew that the Seahawks knew that they got beat on that concept. So Shanahan figured, all right, if we run the concept, they're going to have an adjustment to the concept. Okay, cool. So we'll have an adjustment to the concept. Great. We'll fake the screen pass, and then we'll throw the other screen to Christian McCaffrey. So then they figured, well, the Seahawks probably figure we're going to have an adjustment to that, knowing that they have an adjustment. All right, cool. So we'll adjust to what we think their adjustment will be, and then have the delay released from the top. It was just beautiful stuff. That play was coaching. The rest of the game, I think, was just the example of how many first round picks are on San Francisco's D line. Like
all of them.
Yeah, it does feel like all of them. You know what? Hold on. I got the little roster thing. You might be able to chart this out right now. I want to show. Let's see here. Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead.
That's 2.
Oh, that might be it. Where'd they get this? Who is it? Kevin Givens, brother. I don't know who that is. He don't sound like a football player. He sounds like a
salesman.
He kind of sounds like a rapper to me. He's undrafted. Well, there you go. There's that. Samson Ebukam. Oh, did he go to Eastern? Is he from here?
Good question.
He went to Eastern. Yeah, he did. He went
chose the wrong school. It's okay though.
They did. He was part of the Eastern team that beat us. We're at Wazoo, so no, he made the right call. Yeah, 4th round pick. So it might just be Armstead and Bosa. So it's not a ton, but I mean that's enough to be kicking ass. But their front line. Look here, man. The Niners front 7. I'm gonna go back and watch the film, and I'm probably gonna go end up buying a Dre Greenlaw jersey. That dude is real, man. He didn't miss no tackles. He wasn't letting any leaky yards get behind. Like when he was making contact with Ken Walker, he was driving Ken back. He was amazing. It reminded me of the Luke Kuechly and what was the dude's name that played with him? I think Thomas Davis.
Yeah, old man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it kind of remind even Levante David now and Devin White or Bobby Wagner and KJ. Like that just looked like Dre and Fred Warner. So that's what it was. I don't think the game came down to coaching. I think it came down to the front seven just kicking Seattle's front in the butt, and it didn't allow the Seahawks to attack one of the probably the only weakness that the quote unquote Niners defense had, which is the corners. And the corners, just the times they did get tested, Travarius Ward with all the smoke. The other dude whose name is way too long in ghetto, number 38. His name is long, bro.
They said it on TV. I said, huh, what a name.
Bro, he's got like 3 O's in his name.
Oh, maybe they didn't say his name. I lied. Hang on.
I'm not even gonna try it.
I know who you're talking about, but they didn't. I don't think they said his full name then. But
yeah, the pronunciation's in there. Oh boy, that's a lot of syllables. Yeah, I ain't gonna try that. He was number 38 though. Either way, my point is that the front seven was winning enough so that they didn't even get the chance to test those guys like they wanted to. They didn't have to respect no run game really. We were talking last game, Chris. Their longest run was 16 yards. Well, today the longest run was 15 yards. So I mean, at least by a running back. So it wasn't no better. So yeah, I think this wasn't about coaching as much as it was about drafting and roster construction. The roster on the 49ers is significantly better than the roster of the Seattle Seahawks.
This next one comes from Michael Hibbler. What does this season mean for the Seahawks?
Wow. Michael got real philosophical on there on this. That's a deep question there, Michael. That's a very great question. So I think that this season the Seahawks and mostly the fans should really understand with a season like this, the difference between how long it could take to go from going to being like a scrappy, fun, good, can beat anybody but could lose to anybody team, to being an ass kicker. Like there's just levels to that shit. And the Seahawks are seeing it. And even if it's not the teams they play, but like look at the Eagles right now. Like they are an ass kicker. And look where they kick ass up front. And as much as Buffalo is a Josh Allen led team, they also kick ass up front. Buffalo's defense is disgusting. Some of the other teams that are kicking ass right now are really doing it up. I mean, the Cowboys as well. The Chiefs mostly up front with their O-line. But even then, you let the Chiefs pass rushers get to you, man. They could get to you, Carlos Dunlap hit 100 sacks this year. Chris Jones is probably all-pro defensive tackle. And then you get Frank Clark. So, yeah, I just think that this season should really show that you need a lot of elite talent. Like, in the years in the post Legion of Boom era, the Seahawks have had a lot of like good players, like even very good players in some instances. Like DJ Reed last year, I thought was very good last year. Tariq this year, very good. Geno, very good. Tyler, very good. But like you need ass kickers at multiple. Like that Niners team, Chris, we counted this before we started recording. How many guys do they have that have made an All-Pro team?
At least 6 guys.
Come on, that's nasty.
That's scary.
Because Christian McCaffrey, who just looks like Christian McCaffrey again.
Yeah.
I think one of our Niners guys said he scored like every game he's played with the Niners.
Trent Williams,
Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. They don't have Debo in this game, but Debo.
George Kittle.
Yep, Kittle.
Greenlaw.
I don't know. I think Fred has.
Oh, Fred Warner. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think Fred has probably been All-Pro. Let me check. Yep, Fred has been All-Pro. And then
so
you
that's
got
5.
We're missing one more. Bosa.
Oh, yeah, there's your 6.
Like that. Now every team ain't gonna have that many, because the Niners are just loaded. But like that's what it takes. Like I don't even remember the last time the Seahawks have had 2 first-team All-Pros. I really don't even remember the last time that's happened. I don't think that's happened since. That might not have happened.
Legion of Boom?
That might not happen until like 2015 or something like that. It was in a year that because Bobby's really the only one that's been making it. Like DK was like second team or some shit. I think Russ has been like second team. It's been a little bit. So I just think that this season, as fun as it's been in some cases and frustrating it's probably been to watch in some cases, big picture should show you that like you need a lot of elite talent to really contend. And you need that elite talent to be consistent every week and kick ass. And I think that's where the Seahawks are lacking in the big picture. Doesn't mean they can't like make the playoffs this year or whatever, but big picture, man. It ain't just like a good player here or a good player here. It's an elite player here, an elite player there that you really need to take you over the top.
This one's from Zach. Should I be disappointed that the playoff dream is dying or excited about the long-term potential for the Seahawks?
Yeah, a lot of people view this as like a house money season because they have like Denver's pick, and no one expected them to be good, which I feel you, but I never looked at it that way. You know, I don't really root for. Only team I really root for is WSU Athletics, mostly the men's basketball team and the football team. And I'm not really, there's no like house money thing to me. Like I want to win every game. I want to be competitive to the very last second of every game. I want to win every game. I want to compete for the Rose Bowl or make the NCAA tournament, like all that every year. There's no like moral victories or like, well, no one thought we'd be good. So even if we're better than what people thought, then it's a win. Nah, who cares what people thought? How good should we be based on the talent we have? And sometimes that's different, year to year, but when you start 6-3, these guys fuck around and finish 7-10. That's terrible. I don't care what people thought in August. That's terrible. That's what Chris starting 6-3 and then going what would that be?
Why are you gonna ask me some math? What the hell is wrong with you?
That's my bad. Okay,
that is one win over the last. I don't know the rest of the games.
Okay,
I'll tell you that much.
6-3 to 7-10 is 1-7. That's 1-7. At that point, what people wrote about you or said about you on their TV shows in July and August is irrelevant. You let yourself down as a team as a franchise if you start 6-3 and end up 7-10 or whatever. Even if you end up like 8-9, that's pretty disappointing. That's like 2-7 over that stretch or something like that. 2-6 over that stretch with a lot of those games at home too against teams with losing records. Like, come on. So I think that, I would be frustrated that a team that started 6-3 may not make the playoffs. That's bad. Like, screw the outside expectations from August. Who cares about that right now? You started 6-3, and you had a lot of winnable games in front of you and choked them. So I think I forget who said ask that question, but you should be
Zach.
You can be Zach. You can be excited for the future, but still be frustrated that you blew this chance right here. Because I got some bad news for you guys. This team ends up 7-10 or whatever, which I don't think they will. If they do, that means they have a lot more problems than a couple first-round picks can fix. That's a lot of problems. If you end up 1-7 to finish the year, that means you're bad in several areas that a couple free agents and a couple draft picks are not going to fix in 2023. I can promise you that. So, and remember, the Seahawks are basically down a draft class. They basically have no 2021 contributing draft players. So, whereas you're supposed to be able to count on like second-year players right now and third-year players next year, you basically don't have that outside of Trey Brown. So, they're in a bad spot. If they lose all the rest of the games, that's awful, man. I would be very upset about that if I was you guys.
Next one comes from Mookie Alexander. He has one more for us. Now that we have a big enough sample size, does it feel like the Seahawks win-loss record was boosted primarily by facing a soft schedule?
No, because I think that the teams that they were beating were playing good football at the time. The Chargers were. The Cardinals were playing like competitive football, probably not good. And who else did they beat? The Giants. Oh, the Giants weren't very good, but they were playing some decent football at the time. And they kind of still are, but not as much. The Giants also probably won't make the playoffs, which is also bad because they started like 6-1. That's terrible. Anyway, I think what we're kind of seeing is that the defensive line in particular in a lot of those games took advantage of some not good offensive lines. Because I remember, I think the Cardinals O-line was pretty banged up, and now we just learned that the Cardinals O-line is bad. So bad that their coach did some stupid shit in Mexico and lost his job during the Mexico trip. So you got that was bad. You know how bad you got to fuck up to lose your job in Mexico? Like immediately, they don't investigate, put you on administrative leave or nothing. They just fire you. Adios, amigo.
Pink slip, baby. Pink slip.
Yeah, man. How you say pink in Spanish?
Come on, man.
I don't know. Do you speak Spanish?
Como me llamo es Cristobal. Y tú? That's all I know.
Okay. None of that was pink.
Rosado.
That's how you say pink in Spanish?
Correct.
How you say it?
Rosado.
Rosado? Okay. Oh yeah, like Rose. Gotcha. Anyway, where was we going with that? Oh, we're talking about teams that the Seahawks played during that 4-game win streak. So in that 4-game win streak, they beat the Cardinals, Chargers, and Giants. I don't remember the Chargers O-line being banged up in that. I just think the Chargers don't really run the ball much. But if I also remember correctly, they didn't get to Justin Herbert that much in that game, which makes sense because the Chargers O-line, I think, got Corey Linsley back in that game, which they're their star center. You look at the Giants game, the Giants were really banged up front coming into that game. I forget all the players that they were missing. I do remember them missing quite a bit. They were banged up at receiver too. But particularly, I think what we really can take away from that 4-game win streak is that the D-line feasted on some not good O-lines. And now that they've come across some better O-lines, the Raiders, the Bucks, the Panthers, who else? They did a little better against the Rams, who use kind of more perimeter stuff than just relying on their O-line. So that makes sense because the Rams O-line is bad. So, but then who they play today? Oh, the Niners, good O-line. They got feasted on again. So I think that's what we can take away with the sample size, Mookie, is that it was not that those teams. Let's not even look at those teams as a whole. Like, I think we can just isolate it to like those guys kicked ass against some O-lines that were incomplete against a bunch of dudes who I bet will not be on those teams next year. So I think that was the thing that we kind of maybe overlooked at the time that seems a little bit more apparent now.
This next one is from I am Daryl MC. During the stretch where the Seahawks offense that is, seemed to be performing well, they were moving the pocket, rolling Geno out. Feels like we haven't seen that in a while. Is it just me? Or is there a conscious decision to move away from that?
No, I do think that they've gone away from a lot of that boot action stuff that was working really well. They're still booting, but now they're booting to now they're play action to more like deep shots, kind of looking more like the Russ offense a little bit, which is interesting. They're also Shane is in a bad spot. So I don't think it's no to the question. It's not I think it's not a full-on conscious effort just to specifically go away from that. I think that Shane's in a tough spot here because if you're Shane, right, you're like, all right, I'm going to call a run here on first down, 1st and 10. But fuck, all right, if this doesn't work, now we're in 2nd and 11. And then I can't call another run, right? So now I got to throw it. Well, shoot. We throw incomplete. Now I'm looking at 3rd and 11. We're probably going to end up off the field. Like, it's a thought process you got to have. So it's like, okay, well, I can't. Then it's like, okay, do I call a 1st down throw? Okay. All right. Well, if that does not work, we're on 2nd and 10. Well, 2nd and 10 is a bad rundown. Like, you should not run on 2nd and 10. Well, okay. That's the case. Then I got to call another pass on 2nd and 10. Okay, well, now I've just called 2 passes in a row. And if that doesn't get us where we need to be, then I might have to call a 3rd one on 3rd down, and I'm just passing every play. So he's in a tough spot. He's trying to find ways to manufacture easy gains without putting Geno in harm's way, putting his tackles in tough spots, but not totally abandoning the run game. Like, if I was him, I can see why they ain't scoring no points today. Like, that's a really hard position to be in because you can't run it. But you don't want to give up on the run because you have 2 rookie tackles, and you don't want to get Geno fucking killed out there. It's just a mess. I think that he and his staff are in a really tricky spot when there's only so much stuff you can call when you're not winning up front. So I think that there's a few things they've gone away from, and you can see that they're trying to get the manufacture the quick stuff, trying to roll Geno out without even play action. The intentional grounding he got, he basically just rolled left. Same thing with the interception he threw against the Panthers, the first one. He just rolled left, just moving the pocket to try to help. And Shane's got to do all that type of stuff right now because he can't just hand it off. He can't get under center and hand it to number 9 like he was during that 4-game win streak.
This next one is from Eric Stanzik. Any of the rookies hitting that rookie wall, or are Abe and Charles just facing some dudes?
Yeah, I think they're just facing some dudes. I think there's some reps. There was some when I went back and watched the Panthers footage. I thought both of them did really well against Brian Burns. I didn't get a chance to tweet no clips because of short week, but I thought they did really good. I'll probably go back and watch today and see some good clips against Nick Bosa, see some bad clips against Nick Bosa. I mean, that's what Bosa does. In general, though, I think the protection on the edges has been good enough to get it done. They're just dropping back a lot, man. Like, it's a lot. It's really a lot to ask those guys to hold up against some of these fronts over and over and over with no run game. That means guys are just teeing off on them. Like, it's just it's very tough. So I don't think anyone's hitting the wall. I think Boye is in a tough spot because he's not getting a chance to rush the passer. But that's understandable because of how well Bruce is playing. I think Kobe's fine. Tariq's fine. I think Ken looks fine. I don't know how much they talked about him on the broadcast. I thought he looked like himself. He probably should have scored on that little swing pass. The one where Hufanga, whatever, chases him down. But I think the rookies are all playing fine. I think it's honestly the older guys who don't look so hot here later in the year, to be honest.
This next one is from Imran. When will it be time to move on from Pete Carroll? Not saying he has to go, but given his age, it's inevitable.
I love that quote. Not saying he has to go, but when we about to move on from bro, that's crazy. That's hilarious. I'm not sure, but if we end up at 7-10 for back-to-back seasons, then we might have to have a conversation. We have to have a conversation because then it'll be 7-10, like I mentioned earlier, with a lot of the same issues. You know, like this looks a lot like the Russ Cook team. It does. The second half, it looks without the defense. Yeah, at least on offense, it looks like that. On defense, it looks just. On defense, they've never been this bad against the run, but they have been this bad. So then it's just like all you did was create. You fixed your giving up explosive pass plays issue to just give up a bunch of explosive runs. Like, it means you didn't really fix shit. You know, you just swapped out the issue for another issue that just not fixing anything. There's a quote about that. It's like nose, something with spite your face, just cut off your nose, something. There's a little idiom or a phrase there for that. But anyway, so I think if you get to 7-10 with some of the issues that they've had, because you think about it, man, Pete's gotten rid of about pretty much all the important things you can get rid of to fix some of these issues. He's changed defensive signal callers. I'm talking about on the field. Then he's changed defensive coordinators. He's changed secondary coaches. He's changed O-line coaches. He's changed run game coordinators. He's changed quarterbacks. Like, he's changed just about everything, you know, over the last like 6 seasons. So if some of these issues persist and become fatal flaws, and you still can't field a top 15 defense since 2017 issue, then yeah, if you get 7-10 because of some of that stuff, yeah, it's time to have a conversation. I think it is very much time to have a conversation because that just means you're consistently you're gonna be good at the things that, you know, Pete's culture said you'll be good at, but then you'll probably be bad at some of these things. And then in some scenarios where you fix something you're bad at, it just create another issue, you know. So I think that it's 7-10 to answer that question. That's when we have a little conversation here.
This next one is from Brian Manzo. Seahawks have had a poor home record for the past few seasons. Is there a sense that teams no longer think Seattle's a difficult place to play?
No, that's a fair question. I do not get that sense, and that's from even talking to like some of my peers who cover the other team and get the quotes from the other guys. Because I don't ever go to the visiting locker room. I don't even know where it is, to be honest. But actually, yeah, I do. I've been in there once for the Dragons game, I think, XFL. Anyway, no, I don't think so. I think this was kind of like my hot take that no one really asked me about ever because it was before we started doing this. I actually never thought like the home field advantage thing was much of a thing. Yeah, when it was Legion of Boom, primetime stuff, like I thought the false start thing was real because that's something you could see. But I never really thought like the home field advantage was a real like unstoppable force type of thing in the heyday. I just thought the team was really good. Like they won the Super Bowl by 30 in a neutral field. You know, like I think that when you're just good, you win everywhere. You know, they had a little bit of issue with some of those 10 a.m. East Coast starts. Like I think that had some validity, but I think they were winning at home a lot because they were winning a lot everywhere. You know, if they'd have played all of their games in Poland, as long as they'd had the Legion of Boom, they'd have won a bunch of games in Poland. You know, like I just think that it got overstated. Not to say that it didn't matter, like because it did matter in a lot of those, in specific instances, a lot of third downs, late game situations, crowd going crazy, teams having to use silent count. Like that stuff did have an impact, but I don't think it was just like teams hopped off the plane, smelt the Pacific Northwest air, and their booties got tight. I don't think that's how that worked. I just think that they were playing a Legion of Boom team that was kicking everybody's ass everywhere they played, including neutral site Super Bowls and playoff games. So I guess they didn't win a lot of playoff games on the road, but you get my point. Like, I think that they were just a good team that was winning. It wasn't necessarily that they were unstoppable or whatever the hell at home. And now they're not a good team. So they're losing. I don't think that it's any deeper than that.
This next one is from Craig R. Which of the Seahawks' key needs do you see them filling in free agency versus via the draft? Which current Seahawks do you think won't be on the team come April?
Whoo, that's a. So I think that they'll probably have to, if they don't re-sign Cody, which they could, I'm not really sure. If they don't, linebacker will probably be something that they address in free agency. I don't know what the inside linebacker class looks like in the draft, but I could see them wanting a veteran next to Jordan, perhaps. Or maybe not a veteran, just someone, maybe actually Cody's age, who's in like year 5 or whatever, but just played a little bit more ball than Cody, because still Cody's only starting, first year starting. So I could see that one being an obvious thing that they address in free agency. I think they're going to go to the trenches in free agency as well. I think you could probably see them going for some more guys who have played in similar systems, whether they played for the Bears in the past for Desai, or played in Fangio schemes, or played for other Seahawks assistants, like guys who played for Dan Quinn, guys who have played for Gus Bradley, just whatever, guys who are just familiar with Pete's system or whatever. I think you could see that in free agency. Probably a wide receiver 3. Probably wide receiver in free agency as well. Even if Marquise does want to come back, I think they could, because they're just not getting anything out of anyone that's not Marquise, Tyler, or DK. So, yeah, I think those positions are probably what you're looking at in free agency. I don't know about anywhere else on the offensive line. You're probably going to get at least one veteran offensive lineman, kind of like how they did with like Fluker, J.R. Sweezy, Mike Ayupati. So probably at least one guard, maybe, because you probably have to into that question about who's going to be on the team. Some guys will probably end up not, just because they're too expensive, like Gabe. Gabe probably ends up getting cut. Save some money there. I think you're locked into the contracts for Quandre, DK, Tyler, and missing one, a big one. Oh, Jamal. I think you're locked into all those. I could see not re-signing Cody. I could see cleaning house on the entire D-line. Honestly, I could see bringing back Q Jeff, but I could see Q Jeff just not wanting to be back. I could see not doing that. I could see. I think you got to keep Shelby. Shelby's a dog. Al Woods, like I said, Brian Monet's hurt, so I could just see outside of maybe those 3 dudes. Probably I don't know how many years Bruce got left him. You bring Chenna back and Boye, but yeah, I think you could see how many D-line guys do they have right now? Let me see. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Basically, I could see 8 new guys on the roster next year. Maybe 7. I could see like 7 new guys up front, with like maybe 8 total new front 7 guys next year. I really think that there's not many guys on there who are like, I gotta have you back. Right. That unit is due for an overhaul.
This next one comes from @BBoyCasual. He has a few. We'll start with, does it feel like this team is lacking in identity on both sides of the football?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna plug I wrote a column about this on like Tuesday, man. They're just bad at the things that Pete Carroll wants them to be good at. And they right back being on the let Russ cook, now it's let Geno cook. 48 dropbacks today, 13 design runs. Come on, man. Well, I was talking to one of the linemen today. He was like, how many yards we run for? I was like, oof, all right, I'll tell you. And I told him the numbers. He was like, yeah, we got to be better than that. So, yeah, it is some bad. They don't have an identity. They don't. I asked Pete Carroll that on Monday. I said, hey, did your team have an identity? He was like, no, we haven't really captured what we had when we were playing well in that little 4-game stretch. And he said, we know what we want to be. Just got to work towards it. And that means no, they don't. They don't have an identity. Their identity right now is drop back and have Geno throw and pray the other team turns it over on defense.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's their identity right now. That's not good. They haven't forced a turnover, I think, in since the Rams game. So,
Is this the right defensive scheme for this team?
yeah. I think the scheme, the way they're doing their cover 3 now is funky. Like I can't even really recognize it all the time. Like we went over the play that you had, the Tariq PBU from the Panthers game. Like even we couldn't really tell if that was cover 3 at first. It was, but then they had, I think the busted play today, I think was cover 3, but it looked really weird.
It was messy.
Yeah, it looked like a drop 8 call on a 3-man rush, but you couldn't really tell what Bruce was supposed to be doing or what Jordan was supposed to be doing, and then what Tariq was supposed to be doing. Pete said it wasn't complicated because he knows more ball than us, but still, some of their stuff has looked really, really funky. So I think the scheme is fine. I just think there's no scheme for not having the right horses there. You can only scheme around talent on defense for so long. So yeah, I think the scheme itself is fine. The Niners are running a version of it, running that shit just fine. Vikings too running like a decent version of it that looks fine. So there's teams running a version of this stuff that works. They're just they got a little bit of talent up front and everywhere else. They ain't just up front.
Why does Shane Waldron continue to run those screens? Why don't the Seahawks just run more power plays with the 6 offensive linemen or a fullback?
Yeah, a fullback would be an interesting wrinkle in the offense. I don't know why they haven't invested more in that in particular. I'm not big on the 6th O lineman thing because they're basically putting another guy out there who can't run a route. So your advantage is not like what you think it is. Whereas a fullback can legitimately go out there and catch a pass or whatever. Like there's that funny meme of the Ravens fullback and the comedian Drewski. It's funny. Just Google Pat Richard and Drewski on Twitter. It's so funny. Anyway, yeah, if Shane Waldron calls another screen pass, that doesn't work, man. I need to work to get his number and call him during our post-game show. Don't even care if they're flying back from Missouri and be like, dog, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Chris, they don't work. They never work. And I don't know what they need to see. They threw a pick 6 on this. Oh, that wasn't a screen. It was like a swing pass, but still, stop running screens. Find another way to manufacture run. Get back to the jet sweeps and Marquise. Like I think those are cool. Do one to DK. Pitch it to Tyler. I don't know. Get back to the Wildcat or even. I just don't want to see that they're not working. They don't work to Disley. They don't work to Noah. They don't really work to DK. They don't really run on to Tyler. But they don't work to Ken. Stop. I'm pissed. I just got pissed thinking about that shit. That's so terrible. Please, Shane, stop running screens. They don't work. Please.
Our last one comes from Ryan Turner at Turns44. Give us a guy or guys who you've enjoyed covering this season and a story about them that didn't hit print.
Oh, okay. This is good. But Ryan delivers, man. Okay. I don't know if I have a guy, if I have a story that if I didn't print it, that means I can't print it. Tariq would be my answer though. Tariq has just been very fun to learn and get to know, and I've written a lot about him and I've talked to people about him, and you could tell he's just kind of the next guy that I'm going to be writing about for a while. Very similar to DK. I don't know if I have a story. I don't know if I have a story about him that's like super cool. I do. It was funny when I was in the locker room one day, and I was asking him. So Tariq broke his forearm in college. I don't know if people know that. He broke it twice, and I was asking him like, "How did you break your same arm twice?" And he was like, "Man," I don't know if you guys watch Tariq's interviews. It's so funny. He says "shoot" to answer every question. And now that I'm saying, if you haven't noticed, you'll know it. It's like, hey Tariq, ask him something. Like, shoot, it's like Eric like, shoot, so now you'll notice he says that. Anyway, so I asked him, like, dude, how you break your arm? He's like, shoot, trying to tackle the running back. And so what he does is he shows me, like he tries to almost like tackle me with his forearm, like to my knees, showing me like, look, this is how I tried to tackle the dude, and that's how I broke my arm. So that was just kind of because that was really early in the year when I was asking him that too. I didn't really know each other that well. So yeah, Tariq has been very fun to cover. Somebody Shelby Harris. Shelby is really funny. Shelby has developed into just calling me ugly every time he sees me.
Wow.
Today, it's playful. I can take a joke, so I'm not really. I don't trip. But like today, for example, I say, "Hey Shelby, you got a second?" And he just staring at me like people on YouTube can't see, or people on the listening to audio can't see. He just stares at me like this for like 2 seconds, and I'm just like,
You good?
Yeah, I was like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, man. I just couldn't believe how ugly you are." I was like, "Damn."
Thanks, Shelby.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's fine. We joke, it's all good. I ain't really tripping. Shelby also does. I don't know if you guys all grew up with the person who like does the thing where you put your arm like a chef's kiss, like motion where you've got all your fingers touching each other like a bud, and you put it below your waist and you try to get
Got
the
him.
person to look at it. Got him. Shelby does that shit like every day. He got me
He's
like
a
one
big
time.
kid.
Big kid, bro. He got me like one time in like week 3.
Is he the NFL version of Shaq?
Yes, he's not as funny. Like Shaq's just really just a big playful bear. But like Shelby got me once in like week 3 with that shit. And I told him, I was like, you'll never get me with that again. Like I just promise you that you're gonna try. And he has not. He tried me on Tuesday. Nope. Didn't get me. So those two, because they're new guys to the roster, they've been very fun. There's been some other guys too, but those two really stand out. Hopefully, those two little anecdotes can satisfy Ryan's question. That's a good question. I'm glad he asked, and I got to share those. Those two dudes have been very fun.
It reminds me of every time I come to training camp. Even though Quandre calls you it, he also calls me little guy. What's up, little man? I'm just like, bro, you're literally like 3 inches taller than me, and you got the weight. That's it. I'm like, you ain't that big. He's like, nah, man, you my little man. I'm like, bro, see what you started, Mike? Because every time he sees me, hey, what's up, little man? I'm just like, what up, Quandre, man? How you doing? I'm living good, bro. How are you, man?
Bro, Quandre calls me little man so much for a minute there until just last game. I didn't think he knew my name was Mike. He called me Mike for the first time on Sunday.
I don't expect him to say Chris or Christopher anytime soon. I think I'm destined to be little man until he deems me worthy of my real name.
Yeah, that's
you have earned the right, Mike, to be called Mike. I haven't earned that, clearly.
I just got called Mike for the first time on Sunday. It was very funny. But anyway, that was those two, Shelby and Tariq, have been very fun to cover for very different reasons, man. It's funny to see them still like that. Like I said, Shelby was like that today. They lost. And he's still, he's still him, and that's I appreciate that. Those two dudes. I hope I know Tariq will be around next year. I hope Shelby is too, because I'm enjoying covering those dudes.
Did I get you?
You have to have it below your waist.
I know. I was just being silly. I didn't want to stand up.
Yeah, no, you get.
I got PJs on, man.
Yeah, no, I'm never getting got with that again. So
Shelby sounds like a dude. Mike, tie your shoe, man. Oh, look, got him.
He don't even do a lot. He'll just be like, "Hey, man, you dropped something," and be like, "You're not getting me," because I know I ain't dropped shit. Like I ain't got nothing in my pocket. So nothing
next time he gonna throw a pen on the floor. Mike, you dropped it, and you're gonna be like, "What?"
The one time I'm gonna drop my notebook or something, or my pen, and then that's when Shelby's gonna get me. I know.
Got him.
That's a great question, Ryan. Thank you for that. That was good. I'm glad we got to share something fun on what's otherwise pretty doom and gloom episode, man, because these guys ain't pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it. We want to thank everyone out there for tuning in for another episode of Seahawks Man to Man. We will come back next Wednesday with a new episode. It'll be previewing the Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs, as that game will be on Christmas Eve. Thank goodness it's at 10 a.m. because I was like, damn, I am not trying to do a late pod on Christmas Eve.
We can squeeze in a film thing before that.
Oh, that too. I figured we were going to do that maybe Sunday or something, but we'll have a film review of what everyone saw Thursday night. And then we'll do our preview of the Chiefs and Seahawks, as that should be a fun one, hopefully. And the Seahawks can put up some points out there in the Kansas. Hopefully it ain't cold out there, but I'm assuming it'll be 10 degrees and snowing.
Tyler jinxed it, man. He was like, it's gonna snow, watch. And I'm just like, dog, why would you say that?
Well, by the time you get back, it'll probably actually no, I don't think it'll snow next week.
I really don't want it to be I don't want to be traveling in the snow in the Midwest on Christmas. So
fair point.
I want to get there and get back.
That's all that is. Well, other than that, man, anything else you want to add, Mike?
Just want to the love you guys are showing, the questions, the feedback, listening, watching on YouTube, everything. We appreciate all that love, even though the team just is struggling right now. We appreciate that you guys are locked in with us every time. Appreciate that we're on your guys' Spotify, Wrapped, or whatever stuff, at the end of the year where your podcasts are. We appreciate all that. Thank you for the love, and we'll catch you guys later this weekend.